Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for my top 10 comic books of the week. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is my top 10 comic books of the week. Not a spec list, but a list of my favorite comic books of the week. 10 books that I would love to highlight and spotlight and let you know that I think you should give them a shot. Let's get right into it. At number 10, we got Engine Ward number 3 from Vault Comics. Engine Ward's a great book. And it really starts heating up and captivating you in issue number 3. Issue number 1 and 2 were all set up for this great sci-fi / fantasy world. It's set in a day where Earth is an ancient myth. It's a thing of distant memory, right? And so you have colonizers basically that have left Earth and have colonized this other planet. And it has this ruling class. It's ruled by these, 12 celestial godlike beings. They're kind of based on the zodiac, right? And each one of these covers is going to spotlight one of those characters, which I think is great. This is a 12-issue series, at least, right? So you have this ruling class, and then you have this downtrodden populace. These people that are kept in oppression, these people that are kept in poverty, in a state of need. And then they find this ancient relic that maybe paints a different picture, that maybe this isn't how it was supposed to be. Maybe the power that this ruling class has, really these 12 rulers, right? It's not like a ruling class, it's like these 12 individuals. The power they have is not real and not how it should be. And that's a great way to get me into the story. In issue number 3, it really starts going. It gets you completely captivated. Our heroes are now on this journey to discover the information they need to prove that these 12 celestial beings are full of it. And I absolutely love this. I think it's a relevant story to pretty much anybody in the world in 2020. I also just think it's a relevant story throughout history and unfortunately probably throughout the future. I really think that the artwork is fantastic. Joe Eisma does the artwork. George Mann is the writer of this story. Really captivating characters. It really starts picking up the pace in issue number 3, and I really like it. Plus, you got Hassan Otsman-El-Howe, one of the top letterers in the business right now. Michael Garland on the coloring. It's a little pastel-y in this issue, but it's appropriate. Each one seems to have a different theme that's in some way related to one of the 12 zodiacal celestial rulers of this population. I am loving this book. Issue 3, to me, really kicked it up a notch, and I'm excited to see where it goes. At number 9, Suicide Squad number 9 from DC Comics. Yo, Tom Taylor's been doing a fantastic job here on Suicide Squad. 9 issues in, this is a must-read from DC. Bruce Redondo does such an absolutely amazing job on the artwork. I should say Bruno Redondo. It's not Bruce, it's Bruno, which I think is a cooler name, honestly. Suicide Squad's been great. It's been amazing, and I gotta once again give shout-outs to Bullseye Bob from Everything Comics for getting me intrigued enough to get back into this run and see what Tom Taylor's doing. Tom Taylor is a fantastic creator. He's got big things in his future, but what he's being able to do with Suicide Squad is introduce a whole bunch of new characters, have some cannon fodder in there as well, but really start creating and crafting and creating a really beautiful story. It's got nuanced moments of tragedy and real resonating depth. It also has a quirky sense of humor. It's got a great style. It's got action. It's got flow. The artwork is impeccable pretty much throughout the entire series run. There's only 2 issues left in this series, but you can tell it's definitely hitting towards a planned ending. This is a big deal issue. Some big deal things possibly happen in this issue that you may have already heard about. I don't trust it. It's a comic book, but whatever. Suicide Squad number 9 was amazing. Tom Taylor has done the unthinkable. He has done a Suicide Squad book in the post-New 52 era starring Harley Quinn, or at least has Harley Quinn in it, that doesn't find me completely just filled with obnoxious vitriol for it. I love this book. Suicide Squad is one of the best from DC. It sucks that it's about to see the way of the dodo, but that's just the way it is. C'est la vie, say the old folks. It just goes to show you never can tell. Suicide Squad's a great book. This is a great issue. It's got one of the best covers of the week. It's got a great balance of that quirky, fun comic book sensibility as well as high stakes, emotionally resonant action and drama, and I love it. Tom Taylor and company doing a great job. At number 8, we have Autumnal, number 1, from Vault Comics. Autumnal from Vault is the first entry into the 2020 Nightfall line. This is the horror line from Vault that we get every fall time as fall season starts approaching. And of course, the week that fall approaches, we have Autumnal. I actually really like this book. I got to reread it a couple times and have read issue number 2 since I did the weekly comic book review last night. That's right, I was obsessed with this book. I found it sticking with me. Like peanut butter, eggs, beans, rice, like that kind of stuff. Eggs? Eggs does not fit in there. Peanut butter, oatmeal, beans, and rice. That's what it is. An AC Alone line, whatever. Autumnal is a really cool introduction to this world, to this horrific story. It's about a mom. She's gone through a lot of shit. She's been abused. It's still a little bit unclear exactly what her past is, but she's got a daughter. She's trying to raise her in Chicago, and society keeps pressing down on her, and she ain't putting up with it. She's just fighting back. You get what I'm saying? So she winds up finding out that her mother, who she hasn't seen in years, doesn't want to see, has passed away, and all of a sudden she has inherited the family home, which is in like New England or something like that, right? So she goes to this town with her daughter to escape a terrible situation, and probably goes to a more terrible situation. It's a great horror story. It's got great beats of horror. It's got a nice pace to it. The artwork is amazing. Chris Sheehan does a great job with just setting up the artwork. Great layouts and amazing composition. But Jason Wordie, the way he finishes it all out with his coloring, it is top-notch, fantastic. It's some of the most beautiful artwork you're going to see on shelves this week. The story doesn't quite get to a point where it completely grabs me. It does do so in issue number 2, so I do encourage you to check that one out. This book is already sold out at the distributor, so definitely, if you find it, pick it up, give it a shot. If you like their other Nightfall offerings, like the plot, if you like the plot, I think you'll like this book. It's really cool. I love the thematic nature of it, as far as relating to the arrival of autumn and how that relates to the character's journey in the book. It's really good. It's well written. It's expertly lettered. The craft on the artwork is impeccable. Seriously, Jason Wordie and Sheehan together on this are creating something beautiful and elegant, and I really hope the story kind of catches up to that. I think it does in issue number 2. That's why I put it in the top 10. I loved this one. Check it out. At number 7, Venom 28 from Marvel Comics. Venom number 28 is the third part of the Venom Beyond story, and in this issue you get a lot of revelations. You get a lot of explanations and a little bit of exposition, but it does so in a pretty fun event-type style. That's something that's amazing about what Donny Cates is able to do with his comic books at Marvel. In particular, Venom and Thor. Each issue right now feels like an event. It feels like something big, something that Empire just begs to be. Just begged to be, and it just wasn't. Venom is that every single issue. It never lets me down. In this issue, like I said, you got a lot of revelations. You find out who Virus is. Makes a lot of sense. Maybe not what I wanted, but it makes a lot of sense. And who Codex is, 100% makes a lot of sense. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but we figured that out a while ago, and I get to give major props out to Hero and the Kid for like pointing that out to me. Like, seriously, check out Hero and the Kid if you haven't already. A fantastic channel. One, Gideon's artwork is okay. We kind of spoiled on this book because of Ryan Stegman. So the artwork is okay. I like it. I actually like the layouts and the composition of the page. I just feel like it feels a bit sloppy and rushed at times. In some issues, like the last one, it was a little bit better, but in this one, it starts getting a little bit clunky for me again. The coloring, though, by Albertov is absolutely amazing in this issue, and it's a big factor. But Donny Cates is just keeping us engaged. There has never ever been a Venom book that has this much excitement and hype behind every single issue. And honestly, looking at it as a lifelong Venom fan, I have loved Venom since Lethal Protector. Even before that, it was Spider-Man 375. It was the Eric Larson stuff. I didn't read the Todd McFarlane stuff when it first happened. And if I did, maybe I wouldn't have quite been the Venom fan that I am. But let me tell you something. I'm such a Venom fan, and I have just been oozing with anticipation on him eventually getting a book that has this much hype behind it. This feels like a classic run. This is a classic run on a classic character because Venom's been around for about 30 years now, so y'all, over 30 years, so y'all get ready. I really like this issue. I like the revelations. It makes a lot of sense. And if you've been liking Venom, no reason why you're not going to like this one. I like the variant cover by Ryan Stegman. I cannot wait for King in Black. I hope they completely nail that. I think Donny Cates can, because right now, each issue of Venom and Thor feels like an event, and it's got such weight behind it, it just blows me away. So did this issue. At number 6, Brooklyn Gladiator #1 from Heavy Metal. Y'all, I'm going to be honest with you. I almost did not read this book. I looked at it. I'm not the biggest Simon Bisley fan. I did not make the connection of who Dan Fogler was, who he was, who he is. He's also writing this with Andrew Harrison. Fogler, I don't know how to pronounce it. He's in Fantastic Beasts, but he's a comedian. He was in... what was it? Perry from Perry's Comics. That's another great channel you should check out if you haven't already. You can find Hero and the Kid and Perry's Comics on the featured channels page here on the homepage at Pop Culture Philosophers on YouTube. But Brooklyn Gladiator is written by someone who's semi-famous. That's cool, whatever. I had none of that on my mind. I didn't even know. Apparently there's a book that already came before this, an issue, like a volume 0. I have no idea. Whatever. This book blew me away. It's the sleeper hit of the week. I wasn't going to read this book. It looked to me like just meaningless, drivel, trashy, in-your-face, irreverent for the sake of it kind of stuff. This is actually home to some of the most unique, crazy, out there, far out concepts in comic books this week, if not this month. Brooklyn Gladiator blew me away. Yeah, it's filled with sex and violence. Sure, it's got that aesthetic. It's a very heavy metal UK comics, especially back in the day, kind of aesthetic. 2000 AD, but like raw. Like heavy metal, doing what heavy metal is known to do. I love this book. I thought it was great. It's far out concepts, crazy wackiness, amazing artwork, in your face, irreverent. It doesn't care. It holds nothing back, and I freaking love it. It jumps from scene to scene flawlessly, leaving us, the reader, behind in the trail. And usually that's a bad thing, but in Brooklyn Gladiator, it worked because I was captivated by it. I was immersed in this world. All these ideas, all this craziness, all this wildness. This will remind you of a 2000 AD Alan Moore. I'm talking about like an early Alan Moore. Halo Jones, DR and Quinch, Alan Moore, but even ramped up to a more crazy level, throw in a little bit of, I hate to say it when compared to Moore, but Grant Morrison, like early Grant Morrison, wacky, wild, crazy ideas. It's esoteric, it's challenging, it's difficult to understand at times, but it is impossible to look away. Not like a train wreck, but like heaven itself. It will burn your eyes out, but you can't stop staring at it. You can't stop staying fixated by it. That's how I was with this book. It's the sleeper hit of the week, and I am blown away. At number 5, Kanto 2, The Holoman, #2 from IDW Publishing. I don't know what to say about this book that I haven't already said before, so I'll just basically regurgitate what I've already said. Kanto has an insane ability to be able to strike a chord straight into my soul. I love this book. It is simple. It is such a simple story, a simple hero's journey. Great characters, amazingly brilliant artwork, especially the gritty, detailed, textured coloring of Vittorio Astoni. But this book never, ever fails to just get me right in my soul, and it does it again in issue 2 of the second volume, Kanto 2, The Holoman. You get the idea of what the Holoman is actually referring to, and it's really cool. It's captivating. It's still tied in to a little bit of this Oz feel. It feels like a very simplified kid's fable, a fairy tale, something like that, but it resonates on such a level that most comic books, most artwork, most story just doesn't. They're able to really handle this. David M. Boer, I think it's M. David Boer, Drew Zucker, they do such an amazing job on this book. They blow me away every single time. The way that they can craft such a simple story that hits me with such complexity within my heart, within my own mind, within... This book stays with me. I think about it. I think about the character of Kanto and now his friends. We've added new elements, more richness and texture to this world, to this reality, to this resonance, and I absolutely love it. Kanto #2. Y'all, seriously, this is one of the best books on the shelves, and it deserves to be talked about. At number 4, The Flash, 762 from DC Comics. This is a sad issue of Flash, but it's a great issue of Flash. This is Joshua Williamson's final issue of Flash, which means that it's his final statement on Barry Allen. And what a statement it is. Joshua Williamson has done such an amazing job on this entire run of The Flash. He's done so many issues, told so many stories, and they just kept getting better and better. It started strong, it got a little lully, and then it just started picking up a pace. After that negative Flash story, this book started hitting this arc up, and it never stopped. So this is the finale of Finish Line. It's a grandiose, fantastic finish with explosive artwork by Howard Porter. Brilliant coloring. Holy cow, is the coloring in this book brilliant. You have these giant splash pages. The colors just pop off. They're electrifying. They jump right off the page. It helps accentuate that line work from Howard Porter. Who is the colorist of the book? It's Hi-Fi. So that means it's somebody nameless in the company or something, right? Or is Hi-Fi a single person? I don't know. But whoever did the art of the coloring on this book is absolutely amazing. The great artwork, a great finale to an exceptionally consistent run of The Flash. I'm going to miss Williamson on this book, but he went out with a bang, or should I say, with a flash. And number 3, Dark Knight's Death Metal Speed Metal. Number 1 from DC Comics. So if Flash 762 is Joshua Williamson's final say on Barry Allen, Speed Metal is his final say on Wally West. So it works as a great 1-2 punch for the finale of Williamson's Flash run. Seriously, he tells everything he needs to tell about Barry, and you always get the feeling that Williamson never had the opportunity to say too much about Wally. They brought Wally back in Rebirth in 2016, and they just never felt like they knew what to do with him. Williamson references that in this story. And the way he makes his final statement on Wally, it makes me feel like there's unfinished business, and it makes me feel like he had amazing plans for this character that never got to come to fruition. This was a great book. It works so well as a final statement on one of the Flash family characters, one of the essential Flash family characters, as well as the Flash family itself from Joshua Williamson. So that ties into his final issue of Flash, but it also works as an exceptional tie-in to Death Metal. Death Metal number 3 left a few subplots ready to burst out. Now, they're really going to burst out fully in issue number 4, but the road to that explosiveness starts in these tie-ins. Trinity, Crisis was a couple weeks ago. We had Doom Metal last week. Now we got Speed Metal, Multiverses In next week by James Tynion. Don't sleep on that one either. But I loved it. It absolutely works as a tie-in. It feels very necessary. You could totally skip this if you haven't been reading Flash and you just want to read Metal. That's fine. But in Metal number 4, you're going to go, how did that happen? How did they get that? How's that person there? That's the questions you're going to ask. They're answered in Speed Metal. It's a great tie-in, pretty much almost 100% necessary. I would say 97.998% necessary, but seriously, if you're liking Metal, read this book, and if you're loving Williamson's Flash, and you followed it all the way through to the ending this week, read this one, because it's a great coda to his run, and it's a great tie-in to Death Metal. Speed Metal, rock on. And number 2, Gideon Falls, number 25 from Image Comics. Y'all, we only have a small handful, if not a fingerful of issues left of Gideon Falls from Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino and Dave Stewart, Steve Wand, Image Comics. Y'all, what a fantastic book this has been. It's been one of my favorite comic books solidly from the last few years. It does not disappoint in issue 25. This is an explainy issue. This is an issue that explains a lot. But unlike a lot of other comic books that explain a lot, this does it in a very expressive, artistic, boisterous, elegant, innovative type way. Like really, within just the first 3 pages, which are actually double page spread, so actually like the first 6 or 7 pages, it just blew my mind. I was like, this has to be the pick of the week. It didn't make the pick of the week. It was number 2. But Gideon Falls has consistently been the best book of the last 5 years. Seriously. This book is top-notch. It's great. I freaking love it. Now, it's coming to an end very soon, and I'm excited to see it end. But I'm going to be devastated when it's gone. However, don't worry, Jeff Lemire, Sorrentino, and Stewart, you know that they're going to be working on something else together. Due to the success of Gideon Falls, it's without a doubt that they're going to collaborate on something else. But Gideon Falls has been a great book. It starts off as an urban mystery horror, and it elevates itself beyond that into cosmic horror, into multiversal terror, into a grandiose statement on the state of nature and reality. It's mind-boggling not only how good this book is, but what the book is covering, the concepts involved, the characters, and what they wind up plugged into. This book is brilliant. The innovation of the artwork is right up there with the innovation of the story and the characters. It's a great concept. It's been a great book. It's been expertly executed every single issue since it came out. This is one of the best books. It is the best book of the last 5 years. I dare to say it. Gideon Falls, fucking awesome. And at number 1, X-Men, Ten of Swords, Creation. Number 1 from Marvel Comics. Yo, Ten of Swords was explosive. This was amazing. I loved this issue. I got to give it props just for its ambition. It's a very ambitious book. So, Jonathan Hickman takes over the X-Men books with House of X, Powers of 10. Blows everybody away in 12 issues that come out weekly. And then he launches Dawn of X. So he's writing X-Men and the giant-sized X-Men. And then other people come in and they start writing these books. And we all start figuring out which ones we like and which ones we don't. We're trying to figure out which ones are going to be the most important. Turns out, at least up to this point, the most important books have been X-Men and Excalibur. Excalibur was a book that I wasn't quite sleeping on because I read every single issue, but I wasn't really digging it that much. But y'all, issue number 12 of Excalibur from last week kicks this off. That book was awesome. The X-Men number 12 from last week, because this is obviously Hickman's baby as well. Now we got Hickman and Howard working together on Ten of Swords, Creation number 1. Holy cow. Do you remember the Free Comic Book Day issue? It really wasn't Free Comic Book Day, but you remember that issue? It's been released. You see those exact same scenes, but there's actually some different rewritten stuff in there that adds a lot more richness and depth to the story. This has been amazing. It's an apocalypse-centric story. If you haven't been reading what came before, let's just say you read House of X and Powers of 10. You have no idea anything that's happened. I really think you could just jump in on this issue because Hickman and Howard do a great job of cueing you into what exactly is going on, explaining things, setting things up. Even people that were left confused by Excalibur number 12 or X-Men number 12 last week, I think you're going to end your confusion when you read this issue of Ten of Swords. It was explosive, it was big, it had big deal type stuff happen to it. It's apocalypse-centric. And I read this in a review, and I don't think it's going to spoil something, but I'm just going to say this. When Apocalypse is scared of something, that's a big deal to the rest of the world. It also does, once again, completely rewrite some of the history of mutant kind and Apocalypse's origin and the people he's been involved with. You meet the original Four Horsemen. They're badass. You find their connection to Apocalypse out, and I'm just loving it so much. It feels like a big event. It feels like the biggest threat that they have faced since Hickman has taken over the X franchise, and I'm loving it. Plus, Pepe Larraz is back on the artwork. That's right. Larraz was the artist of House of X, which to me was the best art of that stuff. And it was dynamic, and it was exceptional, and it was crazy. It had a kinetic charge to it that just popped off the page with a boisterously explosive ooh slime all over your face. What? It doesn't make sense. I'm getting into weird territory, but I'm just going to say this. This book was awesome. If you feel like the X-Men books have been kind of meandering around, I haven't felt that way, but if you feel that way, maybe you should check this one out. It's $6.99. I know. $7 for one comic seems like a lot, but there's a lot of pages on this comic. It's more than extra sized. It's more than double sized. And with how dense the concept and the nature of the story is, it took a bit to get into, not a bit to get into, but it took a bit to read to completely absorb everything. And this is definitely worth that high price tag. I loved it. I thought it was great. If you were fizzling out on the X-Men, I think this is going to bring you back in. This book was hype for me, and I loved it, and I want to know what you thought about it. Let me know in the comments down below. Plus, Marte Gracia back on the artwork with Pepe Larraz. Whew. Yo, that's a dynamic duo like crazy over in the X-Men universe. So that's what I read. That's what I thought. What are you reading? What did you think? Let us know in the comments down below. What's your top 10? What's your top 5? What's your top 3? Hell, just what's your top 1? What's your favorite book of the week? What's your pick of the week? Let us know. Let's keep this conversation going. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Please do join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts, blogs, and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading and living and loving and learning.